All right, so just this week on September 19th, this is 2003, Azerbaijan invaded Nagorno-Karabakh, which is an enclave where 120,000 Armenians, ethnic Armenians, live there and consider it their ancestral homeland. But this territory is also internationally recognized as Azerbaijan's territory. So Azerbaijan said that this was part of an anti-terrorism operation. That was the reason for their invasion, after some mines had killed some of their servicemen. But in any case, this invasion has sort of resulted in what looks like they're taking complete control of the area, which had been disputed and under negotiations until now. And it has caused an exodus of refugees. Right now, I think we're up to about 2,000 already have crossed into Armenia. But so as a journalist, I do believe in like being objective and presenting all sides of the story. But in this particular situation, it's been extremely hard to get accurate news, especially being from far away. If nobody's on the ground, so it's really hard to get it. But today I have Jacob Persley here, and Jacob Persley is on the ground, or has been on the ground. And Jacob, I just want to introduce you as you're Dr. Jacob Persley. You from America, but you've lived in Turkey, and now you're living in Armenia, and you understand both languages in addition to others. So I watched a video of yours, and I was so impressed with, like, you're able to bring us the news, even from the Turkish side and the Azeri side, and what they're saying. So I'm going to link to your video because it was fantastic. You gave a good explanation, but I would love for you to be able to do that here to explain, first of all, even what is the geography and the demographics of the area and what's at stake.
Yeah, thank you, Nicole. Great to see you here, and thanks for the privilege to be able to report on what's going on in Armenia and in Artsakh. If you want, I can go up and pull a map.
That'd be great.
That'd be great for you? Okay, let me go ahead and do that right now. All right. So, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So what you're looking at here is the country of Armenia, and we're talking about Armenia, but really in the recent events, like you said, September 19th. And I have to say this, September has been this auspicious month because September 27th of the year 2020, Azerbaijan, backed with Turkey and Pakistan, and also ISIS. So if you remember the Islamic State, there were Islamic State fighters. They were hired to come into Azerbaijan, and with all of this superior weapons and technology, they invaded this region right here, which they call it Nagorno-Karabakh. And Armenians, they call this the Republic of Artsakh. So they invaded with the ISIS terrorists, with Turkish military, special forces, using Turkish drones and Azeris. And there was a brutal war, about 44 days, that was fought at that time in September 27th of 2020. 6,000 Armenians died trying to defend their families from being beheaded in villages by ISIS fighters and so forth. There's some horrible things that happened during that war. And then again, in September of 13th of 2022, there was another attack that happened, and that actually was in this region right here. And so the Azeri military broke into Armenian sovereign lands this time, all the way up to a very famous tourist resort, like a hot springs area called Jermuk. That's correct. And now we're in September 19th, and we see another attack this time here. But unfortunately, this time, as you know, the people living in this region, maybe 100,000 or so at the top right now, they were not able to repel, Azerbaijan, that has 10 million people, backed and aided by Turkey over here that has 86 million people. When you got a really poor fledgling country, and Armenia is not able to help them and back them. Armenia themselves are a very poor country with only 3 million people. And I have to say, demographically, as you look at this, Azerbaijan is made up of Russified Muslims. They're Muslims, but they're Russified. There's a difference in academics. And they are Shia Muslims. Turkey is 99.9% Sunni Muslim. And Nakhchivan is also part of Azerbaijan. It's also Islamic. And unfortunately, these Turkic nations have a real problem with Christian Armenia. And they have had that since the Armenian genocide since 1915, actually before that, but that's another history. So there's this Islamic Turkic flavor here where they are uniting against their great enemy. And it's sad because, you know, when you watch the Turkish and Azeri news, they're talking about like they had this amazing victory, our glorious army, the words they use to embellish in their news and so forth, has defeated the Armenians in one day. I'm like, yeah, guys, come on. You know, you've got all these armies and military and weapons, and then you got these people that are barely you've starved them for. So if people don't know this, too, Nicole. So yeah, December 12th of 2022. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they blockaded them. They've literally not allowed food and medicine in and out, and people in and out for 9 months. So it's like this medieval siege. You know, you surround the country, you don't let them in and out, you starve them, and then you come in with your armies and you take them out.
Wow, that's a great analogy. I mean, that's essentially like the people were depleted. There was no food in there, let alone any new weapons. So clearly it was it wasn't a fair. I wouldn't brag about a victory. Let's put it that way.
No, but they are. In their news, they're bragging about how great this was.
Yeah.
And it was despicable, some of the things that it's not shown on mainstream media, and it's unfortunate. Everybody's focus is on Ukraine and Russia, and there's some atrocities taking place by the Azeri and Turks against the Armenians that and if the world saw the pictures and saw the videos, they would want to throw up.
Well, I want to ask you about that because we're not getting any of that. Like even I'm following a couple channels and I'm not sure what's credible. I can't prove that it's from this year or 2020 or from a different conflict altogether. So I can't report on this, but what are you seeing and hearing on the ground that might be that can give any credence to these reports?
Well, okay. I've thought about this a lot, Nicole, because I have friends in Artsakh and some that are actually just messaged me about an hour ago saying, please pray for us. We are trying to get out. And what they mean by trying to get out is the Stepanakert is the capital of here. Let me see if I can find a better map for us to look at. Hold on. I've got these Turkish maps because I was reporting from the Turkish news network. Here, let me see now. Oh boy. No, I don't really have a good map on this one right here. Well, or maybe here. No, that's not helpful. All right. Well, I know where the geography is. I'll just point it out. So right here is right about here is the capital of Karabakh, which is called Stepanakert. And it's the capital city. And so what they did is they were telling people in the villages all over here, get out of your villages or you'll die. And so a lot of people just don't have vehicles. There's no gas, by the way. The Russians that were supposed to be the peacekeepers were charging 10 times the amount for 1 liter of gas than you would normally pay. So they're exploiting the situation. I hear that right from the ground. My friends that are like, we can't even get gas, to try to even get out. And so anyway, so everybody was trying to gather here to Stepanakert from the villages. But then they were like, well, what do we do when we get there? Because there was no peaceful solution for them to evacuate yet. Today, supposedly there was a agreement that they would allow all of these people to cross this corridor into Armenia. And so far, around 1,000 refugees have come from Artsakh to Armenia. So now let's talk about the question about what's going on the ground, the atrocities.
Mhm.
What's really really hard to is that I have friends that are in villages and things, and I have received messages saying that they have killed infants, children, elderly, and we are afraid. Uh, Please pray. I have received videos where they have gone into villages and they have taken elderly men that can't really walk because of their age, and they threw them on the ground. And the Azeri soldiers, and I could see them, I could hear them speak their language, and I see their uniforms. And they were slicing the throat of this poor old man who was begging them to stop and not to harm him. And they did that same thing in the 2020 war. And we saw the footage. There was ISIS fighters that were taken as prisoner by Armenians, and these are from Syria, and they confessed that they were hired and brought in to fight, and that they were giving them $100 per Armenian head. And so this happened in the 2020 war. And so even though I'm not there to see it with my eyes, because of the past history of what has happened, it's very likely that they're doing the same thing now. Now, when we get these 100,000 or so refugees from Artsakh, that's when we're going to hear live stories. And this is what happened during the Armenian genocide too, Nicole. There was eyewitnesses that they couldn't really take pictures because of, we're talking about from 1894 to 1923. Not everybody had a camera on them, but there was people there that were recording what was happening. And many people just didn't believe it. They're like, oh, that can't be that bad. Oh, it really can't be that bad. And but that's why we're trying to get the news out now, is because I don't want to be saying, well, yeah, it really was that bad, but I didn't try to say anything about it. You understand what I'm saying?
I
Because
totally
it's happened in the past, this is history tends to repeat itself.
Uh-huh. Well, that's why we're bringing it up now, because I think we need to know now if this is what we're facing in the future, and if this is going to be uncovered pretty soon, better sooner than rather than later.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, tell us now about this corridor, the Zangezur corridor, because I think this bit of geography, so where the Armenians are coming in from Nagorno-Karabakh, is that corridor, is the Sinu
is right here
of Armenia.
That's right.
And can you tell us the significance of that? Because I think that's maybe where this is heading.
Okay, yeah. So I can show you a map here. So according to the Turks and the Azeris, they believe that this entire region belongs to them. And so if you are in Azerbaijan, you are taught that Armenia here, Armenia, is Western Azerbaijan. And that Yerevan, the capital of Armenia, is the capital of Western Azerbaijan.
Right.
And that
like
this
say that has been in their weather reports, for instance, like on the weather map, it will say Western Azerbaijan and Yerevan, which is currently in present day Armenia. So I think people should understand that this is actually what the people sitting watching the regular nightly news are seeing this on a regular basis. So
right, it sounds ridiculous. It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And they also call this too, Nicole, this is southern Azerbaijan, by the way.
There are tens of thousands of Azeris living in Iran, right?
Actually, there's more Azeris living in Iran than Azerbaijan.
Oh, so there'd be millions? Okay.
Yeah, like
Wow.
we're 15 million plus. But they call this region southern Azerbaijan. They would like to unite all of this together, and then that will connect the country of Turkey, Azerbaijan with Turkmenistan. Wow. Well, they have a land route. They actually call this area the Turkish Golden Bridge, this part of Iran. And actually, it's this right here. This is Iran right here.
Oh,
So
wow.
this is part of that Turkish Golden Bridge that they want. So, and this is Armenia right here in Syunik province. It's pretty, as you can see. Oh yeah, here's a better map right there. So this is right Iran,
Oh,
and
wow.
it goes to Yerevan. And so that's what this is, the corridor that we were talking about that they want. You can't really see it, but there was an old railroad that goes along here
Okay.
all the way, and that's this right here. Okay. And there during the Soviet times from Baku and up, and it would go to the train went to Yerevan. There was an old train system. I mean, there was travel. Joseph Stalin is the one that carved out these nations and put their borders. It's historically too. People need to know that this area, all that we're looking at here, was always historically Armenian land. By the way, there was no country called Azerbaijan until the year 1918. That never existed in the history of the world. So it's a new country that kind of came up. And I think people in Israel will appreciate the history of Armenia because Israel has a very rich historic claim to the land. And I believe God given. And I also believe that Armenians also have a historic claim to this land. This is where the mountains of Ararat are, right over here. And that's where Noah's Ark and all of us came out of here, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So anyway, I just wanted to say that I'm kind of veering off a little bit, but I've thought a lot about the history of Israel and the history of Armenia, and I see a lot of parallels where Israel has been surrounded by countries wanting to destroy it and people that would like to see it eradicated, and that's the history of the Armenians as well, where there was a genocide against them in 1915. 1.5 million were massacred systematically, and even the first gas chambers were used against the Armenians. And there's deserts in Syria. That's where Adolf Hitler learned what he learned from the Ottomans. They put them in caves and they gassed them in caves in the deserts in the early 1900s. So and then they're still wanting to get rid of them. And so I have to say this because the parallels, like I spent a lot of time in Israel. My sister lived there for about 8 years, and I started traveling to Israel in 92 or 93. And I remember, we have to be careful because, Hamas might snipe or shoot at us. And, the rockets come in and this and that. Like I was there right after suicide bombings and all kinds of horrible things I experienced when I was in Israel because people wanted to kill the Israelis. And I feel the same way when I'm in Armenia. I drive on this road right here. You see this?
Yeah.
And what's that?
Yeah, I was at that intersection that we drove a little bit of that as well when we were there.
Yeah.
And
So on this intersection.
yeah.
Yeah, so right here on this road, you have to drive to get to here. We have a school right here. The Azeris snipe at cars and shoot at them.
Yes, we
And you're
they
just
built
like,
up the road to protect the cars driving by.
right,
I
right.
couldn't believe it. Yeah.
So there's a lot of parallels, and my brothers and sisters in Israel need to understand, and they'll be able to sympathize with the Armenians because of the situation. They're under a very similar situation. Again, not that every Muslim is a terrorist. There's amazing Muslims. I got Muslim friends everywhere. It's not that, but there's some radicals that just want to, and some extremists.
Right. Well, they're both very deep nations that are deeply rooted in their faith.
Yes.
I felt that in Armenia as well, seeing the ancient monasteries and the hush house everywhere, and which are engraved crosses everywhere in the nation. And of course, being the first nation to declare Christianity as its national religion, you can actually feel that heritage still. It's amazing. And of course, in Israel, you feel it's the Jewish state. People are rooted in their faith. So yeah, there are a lot of parallels with both countries, and they're both ancient.
So I wanted to bring that out because, right now the Azerbaijan has shifted their emphasis in news from Karabakh, which is here, to this. And they're saying, okay, now we want this because we want to make a road and a railroad way and a pathway through Armenia to Nakhchivan so we can go to Turkey. So they can do trade and gas and whatever they're going to do. And so this is the new target that Azerbaijan has. And it's a large province. It's probably the largest province in all of Armenia, called Syunik province. And so they're talking about this in their news daily, how they're going to get this province, how they're going to get their roadway here, their passageway. And again, that's really concerning because I take people seriously when their government and their officials, Ilham Aliyev particularly, is saying that we're going to solve this problem now.
Right.
So that means more military action.
Right. And actually, so just today, so it's interesting, Erdogan, from Turkey, president or prime minister? President, right?
I think he's president now. He's been forever dictator since 2002. Right.
And Prime Minister Aliyev has also he's been since 2002 as well, right? Something like that.
I can't remember exactly, around or about that time.
But it's early, yeah, I think it's early 2000. Yeah. So Erdogan is actually in how do you say Nakhchivan? Am I saying it right?
Nakhchivan is the way the correct way, because it's an actually Armenian word that means before you get to Ijevan. Ijevan is here. So this is before you get there. It's an actual Armenian word, but they say Nakhchivan in their language. Anyway.
All right. Yeah. And that's how I've been saying. Well, it's a hard one to pronounce.
Whatever. It's okay.
Of all the Armenian cities, that one. Well, and words, that's a tough one. But okay, so he's there today, and he reiterated that Nakhchivan is the ancient land of Azerbaijan, and fortunately, in 1920, Western Zangezur was cut off by the Soviet authorities, and thus the geographical connection between the main part of Azerbaijan and Nakhchivan was interrupted. And so it really looks like they now have their eyes on that corridor, like not for nothing, went there just 3 days after this war ended. And of course, and when it comes to negotiations, if there are going to be negotiations or whatever is going to happen, they hold all the cards now. All the cards. Like what's, I don't know that Armenia has anything to negotiate with right now. The other thing I want to note about this railroad and this connection that they want, it would cut off Armenia from its only ally in the region, which of all places is Iran.
Right. Yeah. Here we go.
And and also Iran opposes this, right? Am I correct in that?
Of course. Yes. Well, Azerbaijan, like I said, look, Turkey and Azerbaijan have an ambition. They have a goal. They want this part of Iran for themselves. This is what they call the Turkish Golden Bridge. Okay. So that's their problem, is that they know that these countries, Turkey and Azerbaijan, have an overarching goal to take this area. And they have some interesting claims to that. I mean, in the sense that there are about 15 million Azeris living in this area. That's a huge Azeri populated area. They're not similar. They're not the same as Azeris in Azerbaijan. Obviously, they grew up in Iran. It's a little different worldview, but they do speak the same language and have maybe the same ethnicity, and could be disputed. So, and this is the only trade route, right, from Iran to Armenia for oil or beans, rice, goods, things like that. So that's going to cut them off. And then the only place that they'll have an open border with then is the country of Georgia.
Wow.
Cut off on all sides, basically.
It's not really a friendly neighborhood for Armenia, and
no.
Which is it's amazing how Azerbaijan pulled itself out of communism and being under Soviet rule, and Armenia not so much.
Right.
But
Nicole, can I just give a parallel, just kind of an analogy to what I've seen going on here? So, you listen to the Turks and their claims, and the Azeris and their claims about this area, saying, well, this really, the world didn't recognize this as a country. And this was, Joseph Stalin gave this to Azerbaijan. So we're going to listen to Joseph Stalin's rules and so forth. Well, what's really interesting, and there's more detail to that, I'm not going to get into it, but I think of the country of Cyprus. Look, northern Cyprus was invaded by the country of Turkey, and they massacred the Greek Cypriots. It was a nightmare. But the country of northern Cyprus is not recognized by any other country in the entire world as the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Only Turkey recognizes the sovereignty of Northern Cyprus. The UN Council doesn't. Nobody did. And I've always thought the parallel, would be if Southern Cyprus, actually Greek Cyprus, invaded Northern Cyprus, they could have the same claims as the Azeris. They could say, well, look, you're not even a legitimate country. You're not even nobody even recognizes you. This is our land. Get off. But that won't happen because the entire world would say, what are you doing, you Greek Cypriots? You're so mean and evil and cruel. And I'm just going to be honest. The reason they're going to say that is because everybody knows where northern and southern Cyprus are. It's in the middle of the Mediterranean. They're tourist destinations, but nobody knows about this area because it's in some, Caucasus nation in the mountains somewhere.
Right.
So unfortunate, but there's some parallels there that can be looked at. Anyway.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, the last thing I wanted to bring up was the different alliances. Obviously, Turkey, Azerbaijan have their alliance, and exactly how did Erdogan say it? They're two states, one people, something like that.
He said they're one people, two states.
Okay. And a couple of years ago, I actually wrote an article about how Turkey was making a power play in Jerusalem, actually by buying property and by funding charities here. So, which was interesting because it looked negative at the time, but right now Turkey and Israel are having very warming relations, and also Israel and Azerbaijan have affirmed and reaffirmed their good relations. And in fact, Israel, in the 5 years before 2020, Israel was a supplier of 70% of Azerbaijan's weapons. So you've got these, of course, I would think Israel's interest is that the border with Iran right there.
Correct.
But I also found it interesting to hear that India would be extremely upset. India, who's also an ally of Israel, would be upset with this railroad going through. And then Pakistan, who Israel has no relations with, then has supporting Azerbaijan and Turkey. And I just find this mix of alliances so strange, and so I mean, there are some of them are like they're all strategic for their own good, I guess, right. Nations, but also I just find that it just makes Armenia look even smaller in the midst of all of these big countries coming in with their different alliances and their plans for this land.
Yeah. I mean, I do believe that the majority of this has to do with the country of Iran. And I think that Western powers, Turkey, Azerbaijan, aligned with Europe and the United States and Israel, has an interest in seeing Iran destabilized so that Iran can no longer be a threat. And I understand that. They've had some horrible rhetoric saying they want to wipe Israel off the map. I mean, when you have a neighbor like that, it's kind of ominous. So so I can see that there's alliances made because of a common, if I want to call it, enemy, the government of Iran, not the people. The people in Iran, a lot of them, most of them actually love Israel, by the way. I meet with hundreds of Iranians all the time, and they absolutely love the country of Israel. They just hate their government, and they hate their government stances. So it's really the government is the problem there. And that's why I think that they're wanting to destabilize Iran so that it can no longer be that threat. And that makes sense. I do understand that. The issue is that and why these people are playing their games of politics and moving chess pieces on this board, that Armenians are really suffering. And so I'm sure there's a way that Israel can reach their ambitions without supplying weapons that are going to kill Armenians. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I know that at least 40% of all oil in Israel is coming from Azerbaijan. So there's, diplomatic business relations, things like that, crucial to, the governments. But if there's something about doing things in a righteous, holy manner as people, children of Abraham, and one of them would be not supplying weapons that will kill innocent people. That's not a righteous act.
Right. There's an organization here, a few organizations that deal with this very issue, based in Israel. But, it's an extremely complicated area of the world for people who, for people from the West who haven't been exposed to a lot of this history and the politics. And it's, so we're trying to understand it better. And I really appreciate you coming on and helping us understand. The maps are extremely helpful. The translations of what's happening that's really helpful. And I think, we'll talk again. I think, you're going to get a better sense of what is needed there in the coming week.
Well, yeah. So this week I'm going to be going to where the refugees are, and we'll be going to do what we can do to help. So I'll obviously, Nicole, I'll keep you updated with people right from Artsakh and what they're saying. So.
Awesome. All right. Well, I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time and for sharing your knowledge with us. And, I just pray that we all have clarity and can understand better, get a better idea of what is the truth here, what is happening, and how we can be effective in this, how we can be influential for good in this. So
thank you, Nicole.
Thank
you for your interest. It's important for the people here.
Awesome. Thank you.